the price of Bitcoin actually leads those other factors. So I would caution people to be very careful. What I've noticed from past cycles is that even though global M2 is still rising and kind of looking toppy, like the rate of change is starting to slow down a little bit, even though the economy is revved up and PMIs are sitting around 60 or so, and everybody is super bullish, that's usually about the time Bitcoin peaks.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an all right day today because it has been a wild lead into the weekend. We started the day with Bitcoin pumping. Everything was looking great in the morning, and then it completely erased all of its gains and dumped as the afternoon proceeded. So what is going on? What is happening right now? This is absolutely crazy. As you guys could see right here, we were saying, at least a close above around 12,500 would have been nice. Really what you wanted to see was a nice close above the $115,000 area for Bitcoin, but we could not get above this zone, and currently we are simply sitting back between this area of 109 to 111 that we just keep bouncing in. And another thing is, we've also, most likely, unless we have a miracle by the end of this weekend, are going to end up losing this massive trend. Now, in all fairness, this trend has acted as massive resistance for Bitcoin. We did get above it. So the question is, was this a bit of a fake out, right? Because we do have these two massive sells right here on these weekly candles, which obviously looks like a little bit of an unhappy face right there. Like the bears are, kind of taking the spotlight today. But what I do want to talk about are some other things that are happening. One other thing to consider is that Ethereum is being sold by Fidelity. Grayscale is selling Ethereum. VanEck is selling Ethereum. But BlackRock has actually absorbed 150 million of that Ethereum through their buy purchases. So what could all this mean? Well, I want to talk about everything today going on in the video, guys. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, etc., etc. Like the video, you guys know all that stuff. I'm actually going to try to keep today's video short. Wish me luck. Every time I say I'm going to make a short video, it ends up being 20-30 minutes. Maybe today we'll actually pull it off. So I do want to, just before we move on, give a massive shout out again to Meta Signals. They did have this trade set up. This was put out a few days ago in the Discord. By the way, if you want, you can join that for free. You can also purchase a lifetime access NFT. They will be going away very, very soon. I can't stress that enough, but we've had 100% hit rate. 100% hit rate, guys, on the last take one profits for the month for Bitcoin, which is actually absurd. Usually it's between 60 and 70. And you could see that that trade setup was right down here with the take profit level 1 at 113,172. And actually, if we go back over here and have a look, where did we top out? At 113,307. So again, another amazing call by MetaSignals, guys. And friendly reminder that the BTC vault is open over on Femex. If you have Bitcoin, you could deposit it in there. You don't have to lock your funds up. You will currently get back about 13% APY. You can also still trade with that, but you do need to have VIP access. So if you want, you can earn yourself that VIP access through trading, or we literally have, at the time of making this video, about 5 hours. If you guys want, you can sign up using the link below. You don't have to deposit anything. If you sign up, you will automatically get a free VIP 1 month trial. So I take advantage of that. It's probably going to be running out pretty quick. So basically this morning, guys, we had the unemployment expectations at 4.3% actual. So this is starting to not only make people think that the Fed is going to cut rates, but now we have this new little guy popping up down here. So we have about a 90% chance that they think we're going to cut about a 25 basis point, and we have a 9.6 now saying that they could cut 50 basis points. Now, obviously, I wouldn't be holding our breath on this for the 50. Could it happen? Possibly. If we got the 50, I'm sure it would see skyrocket, right? Maybe right now they might be pricing it in or something of that nature. In fact, the jobs reports were also showing pretty negative for the full-time, and the part-time was the only one that was up. So again, it's not really looking that great. This is sort of the problem that we're having, right? We are seeing a lot of people not able to get jobs, and the jobs that they have, they're not able to keep up with inflation. They're watching their savings erode away. You guys know the drill. Also, just to point this out, another reason that they could be in trouble, you have the US 10-year government bonds falling like a rock. Nobody wants to hold the dollar anymore. This is why you're seeing things like gold pump. And again, we've gone into the whole gold discussion. Why is Bitcoin not moving? Why is gold moving? Well, guys, at the end of the day, gold has a much longer history, clearly, which is why you're seeing a lot of these international, central banks, these global central banks, putting some gold on their balance sheet. And I think it's only a matter of time until they start turning their heads towards Bitcoin as well. You know, obviously Bitcoin is a maturing asset, whereas gold is a mature asset, right? But, you know, in that sense, you may not think you're early price-wise, right? You know, you could have got Bitcoin for 10, 20, 30, 40, but even at 100,000, when you look globally, well, it is actually still quite early. Donald Trump, however, says it might be too late. Powell should have lowered rates long ago. As usual, he is too late. So speaking of the M2 money supplies, what do you guys notice? US, China, Euro, Japan. What's going on here? What's going on here is that we are literally printing money like crazy. And with all of this money going into the system, what do you think's going to happen? Well, if Bitcoin's lagged M2 and gold correlations hold, okay, according to this 200-day lag chart, things could be getting very interesting, and you could be seeing Bitcoin upwards to $167,000 to even $185,000. Now, I know it doesn't feel like that today, but actually what's crazy is if you look at crypto users versus the internet, we are actually having a faster adoption. This red line right here is the adoption since 2016 to 2025 versus the equivalent time, you know, back in 1992 to 2001 internet adoption. So yeah, it's actually spreading much quicker than internet adoption did. So I know a lot of people in crypto are impatient. This could be something good, you know, but it does take time. It's very easy for us to go on YouTube, watch some videos, go get a Coinbase account, buy some Bitcoin. But for these institutions, for these governments, these large, you know, family offices that are trying to figure out what to do, it's taking a little bit of time. But as we've seen, the last time we had spoke, which was about the original introduction of the ETFs, people said it was going to be a big nothing burger. Bitcoin was around $40,000. We then dumped after the announcement. And currently today, people are sitting bearish at a Bitcoin that's higher than 100,000. I mean, you got to have some kind of perspective on what's happening here. Look at some of the news. You have $1.7 trillion banking giant Citi says that Bitcoin and crypto will account for 10% of the global market by 2030. So that's only, you know, less than 5 years away, right? Because we're halfway through. We're almost in 2026 at this point. So 10%, is that possible? Well, I mean, Bitwise right here is saying that they're already seeing institutions moving from about a 1% to a 5% allocation. Imagine if that starts to catch on.
Well, every day at Bitwise, we talk to institutional investors. These are RIAs, hedge funds, family offices, high net worth individuals, and the pattern continues to emerge that more and more of these investors are starting with a 1% allocation to Bitcoin as they build their portfolio. And then what we've seen time and time again is those 1% allocations ladder up to 2, 3, 5%. Now, many investors that we're speaking to have a much larger allocation than that, but we believe that investors will allocate somewhere between 1 to 5% of their portfolios to Bitcoin. If you just take a step back and think about how Bitcoin has a 21 million supply, or how Bitcoin has a 21 million fixed supply. And if you think about what a 1 to 5% allocation would be for the 100 trillion institutional investment space, that's 1.5 trillion of additional buying pressure for Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And that's why we think there will be a continued sustained supply and demand imbalance that will drive the price higher.
We also have today, we will know at 5:15 whether or not MicroStrategy will be added to the S&P 500, or I'm sorry, just strategy, kind of so used to calling them MicroStrategy at this point, but strategy, if they will be added, which, you know, is probably going to give a lot more validity to things like Bitcoin and crypto as well. We have Blink charging to integrate Bitcoin payment options by the end of 2025. So now you can charge your EVs using your Bitcoin, right? These are just all these tiny little things that just keep adding up over time. And, you know, Dr. Jeff Ross was over discussing about why he believes that Bitcoin really should be higher than $140,000 today, but it's a lot to do with the uncertainty that's happening at the moment.
140,000 US dollars right now. It should be well above that based on the liquidity metrics I follow. Very surprised that it's not there. But I think, again, it's being held on by the economy. I think once the most market participants believe that the US economy is finally starting to surge, I think the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket at that point. So that's just my personal take, is it's going to make up for lost time. It leaves me very bullish with where we are. Like I said earlier, for the next 6 months or so, I'm actually very bullish. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said we'd almost be at the peak of this business cycle, but we haven't even started yet. And so there's a chance we either have this massive surge higher in a short amount of time in Q4, and we still maintain these 4-year cycles, or more likely what it's looking like to me is the cycle extends into the first half of 2026 somewhere, which to me would mean the Bitcoin peak would probably extend and happen somewhere in the first half of 2026.
So really all it's going to take is just a little bit of confidence, right? And let's be real. We know once they start cutting the rates, the money printer's going to double, triple more. I mean, they're printing money right now as we speak, but you know it's going to ramp up and it's going to be crazy. But thinking about this 4-year cycle versus an extended cycle, this would line up actually if we looked at our 200 moving average theory, right? So basically when you have the 200 moving average reaching the level of the previous high, that's usually a good time to maybe sell or consider to take some chips off the table. And if we did this chart, actually it was a week or so ago, but that would pretty much put us right around here. So that's about, March or April of next year, if that was to have this sort of extended cycle theory. But like Lofty points out, Bitcoin is flashing its first bullish cross in 4 years, and that's happening right now. So this setup happened in 2021. And, it flipped 300, or this guy says he turned 300 into 100,000. So congratulations, bro. But yeah, I mean, apparently this is just firing off. And as we've looked into multiple indicators, we've noticed that we haven't really seen anything that signals that we should be topping at this point. But as you can see, we really wanted to get out of this blue zone. But until anything major happens, or until we have a massive breakdown below around, I would say about 107,000, there's really nothing too concerning. I mean, on the broader scheme of things, you'd have to go literally below 75,000, but we're not even close to that yet. So, I mean, as of right now, fake breakout, and we continue to chop around pretty much in this area. The one thing that does kind of suck, short term, is flipping the daily ribbon. Now, this ribbon, which usually tries to act as your support, is going to now act as your resistance. Again, you see down here, we went into the red. But if we do look at this again on the weekly, we're actually just sitting right on the top. So if we actually look at what Bitcoin has done during these weekly bands, we've had multiple moments where, for example, we go sideways and down. We had a 34% dip. We fell down to the bottom of the band, and we started breaking back up about 238 days later. Same thing happened over here. If we have a look, we fell below the band, and then from top to bottom, that was about a 31% dip, and we sprung right back. So, I mean, for everybody panicking right now, we're not even at the bottom. The bottom would be around 93,000, and we've talked about the fact that we have the CME futures gap, right? This CME futures gap is all the way down at around 92,000. Now, I know that seems scary. If Bitcoin was to fall below 100,000, it would seem like the end of the world. But, if I was to kind of have a look at what we're doing right now, if you look down here on Market Cipher, which, by the way, is like the #1 indicator. I don't know how you guys do not have this. I have a link below if you guys are interested. I think Market Cipher is just something that everybody should have. It's literally the best indicator in crypto as far as, putting it on the bottom of the charts to look at. But you could see we started dipping the money flow down into the red right here. So if I had to guess where we are right here, it's probably somewhere similar to right here, right? And from that point, Bitcoin had a 25% correction, and that lasted about 53 days. Is it going to last that long? I don't know. But what happened, everybody said, it was over. We bottomed out. And then what did we do? We did a 69% move up to the top. And yeah, that was like around 120-ish days or so. So basically, as you guys can see right here, if we did do something like that, I'm pretty bad with these drawings, but bounce around, come down, fake out, boom, maybe we fill this gap, and then we move to the upside, and then we just have another move like we had here, and then like we could potentially have here. I think the name of the game right now is to bore the retail traders, to see who has the lettuce hands and see who's going to be too scared to hold, who's going to sell on every little dip. I mean, there was this giant falling wedge pattern. Has this broken out officially on the daily? Technically, yes. We didn't even have a full retest, so you can argue that maybe that's a little bit of hope for the bulls right there. So we'll have to see, guys. Weekends can get a little bit crazy. I wouldn't take the weekend price action too much to heart, but as you guys can see right here on the weekly, we do have a perfect setup look for a continuation on the bull trend. We don't have anything crossing over anything just yet. In fact, to be totally honest with you, in September of last year, we did have this golden cross right here. And, you know, until you start seeing something like this, you know, moving below this, moving below that, something like that, then this is still a constructive pattern to the upside. And you could look at these Fibonacci levels again. The next level is 102, followed by 96, followed by 91 to the downside. But keep in mind, we have nothing really to the upside. So if the bulls are able to take control, then we're probably most likely going to $132,000 Bitcoin. So, you know, just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, you could see we have this massive trend. I mean, this trend's been going for quite some time. And really what you'd be looking for was a break below this area right here, which would be the original zero line at around 73 to 75,000. I mean, if you guys think that's what we're going to do, I don't think that's what we're going to do. I think it's more likely to just come down here, chop around for a little bit, freak each other out, and then just continue on the uptrend like we've been doing. That is the most likely scenario. We also have Ether exchanges reserve falls to a 3-year low as ETFs and corporate treasuries soak up the supply, and Ethereum network activity surging as daily transactions reach 12-month peak. So quickly looking at Ethereum looking a little bit better on the daily. It does not have the inversion. So, you know, maybe getting that Ethereum sub 4,000, you know, you could put your buys at around 4K even. Lowest levels about 3.6K, but, you know, having a look at what the MACD is doing right now, it looks like it's curving up to make a bigger move to the upside. And as we know, Ethereum has been underperforming a lot lately. So that's why probably a lot of these institutions are looking into it with the Tom Lee narrative, etc. So again, guys, if you want to get one of these Meta Signals NFTs, we will be burning all of these very soon. We've had, like I said, 100% hit rate on the last month of calls for Bitcoin. And also you have only 5 hours left to get that free VIP if you guys want to, you know, lock up. Well, you don't have to lock it up. It's you basically just put it in there and you get APY and you can still trade with it. It's pretty cool. Actually, it's a pretty interesting feature. So ultimately, guys, that's it for me today. Hopefully I was able to keep this video a little bit shorter than usual. If you do want to learn how to trade, I got a Femex tutorial right here. So, I mean, while you're checking out Femex, you can check out the tutorial. Obviously, a lot's changed since I filmed that, but the mechanics of it are still the same. So until next time, guys, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.